Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel, guys. So by the title of the video you do know what it's gonna be about, kind of, but let me just I have no idea how to say all of what I do want to say and if I will be able to say that, but I decided to go with the overhead shot because I feel like if I see myself in the cam, I'm just gonna cry and say nothing. So, this has been bothering me for a while now and pushing me to make a video, and I don't know why. Sometimes I just get the feeling that I have to say something out loud and in public, and YouTube is so public. So once it's on YouTube or on the internet, it's there forever and there is no going back anymore. And I have never made it public. So, however, let me tell you my story and let me tell you why I am how I am. I was born in the former Soviet Union, right? My parents were born there, my grandparents were born there, but my great-great-parents, they were born in Germany, and they moved to Russia because back then the whatever it was, the queen, or I don't know how you call them, she asked for people to come over to her country to help take care of the land. So that's why my great-grandparents moved over there, and then they had a family. And once the war came, the Russians decided, ooh, we cannot let the German people go back home or they're gonna come and fight us, you know. But this is just a little bit of history. So that's how we German people ended up living in Russia and having families there. And that's also why the German people started moving back to Germany around 1992, when the whole Russian system was falling apart. You know, it was getting harder to live there. But this is just so you understand when I tell you about my childhood and being bullied for being a German person. But let's start with the hardest thing, I guess. I don't know. However, my very first memory of myself, my very first memory ever, is being a toddler and being molested by a neighbor. So that's a hard memory, especially it's really sad for me to be my first memory ever. So when I was a toddler, the neighbor of ours molested me, and I know for a fact that it's not a false memory because I know somebody else. I learned much later, many years later, that he molested somebody else, whom I'm not gonna name here, of course, because that would not be my story. It would be her story. I hope that through saying this out loud, it will make it go away a little bit. But that's not, you know, I don't know. So my toddler memories are not the best. I do not know what happened. I cannot remember. I just remember like a couple seconds in this time. And I believe that my mind just doesn't want to remember more, but I do still have really bad dreams, even though I will be turning 40 soon. It is still right there in my brain. I tried, like I said, I'm gonna turn 40, and recently I tried to deal with that by asking my mother if she remembers the neighbor. I never told anybody except for the person who was molested as well, that I was molested, and my husband. So I asked my mom if she knew the person, and she said, oh yeah, he's friends with me on Facebook. And she asked why. So I just, I thought, okay, I have to tell her. I'm turning 40, so I have to tell her. I have to figure out who this person is. And I was really thinking I'm going to message this person. He still lives in Russia or Kazakhstan, whatever it is. However, so my mom asked why I'm asking about it, and I told her that he molested me. And I don't know what I was expecting to come back. But basically, all she said was, why would you bring this up now? It has been like almost 40 years. I don't think she knew, but also I saw the shame in her face and saying, why would you start this now? Just our family is used to keep everything hidden. We don't say things that bring shame onto our family, like your child being molested, because shame on the child. You know what I mean? So, however, I did find the person on Facebook, but I never messaged, even though I was going to. But I can't do that yet. He has a family. He enjoys his family. He has a daughter. Wow. However, so that was my first memory. And then besides a memory that a lady jumped out of her window, so she committed suicide. She jumped out of her window right in front of me when I was a child, which of course traumatized me even more. I remember this part, but I guess I don't know if this is like all connected to the trauma I'm suffering right now, like from all of it or not. So further on, when I got a little older, I don't know, 10 years old, I was bullied. And this is why I told you the little story previously. I was bullied at school really bad. I was called a Nazi for being a German, even though my parents and my grandparents were born there, so I didn't feel like a German. I really didn't know the history behind it. I didn't know that my great grandparents moved there and why and whatever. I was just a child. I was 10 years old. I was bullied seriously, really bad. I remember having maybe one or two friends at this time. And in Russia, all the children were playing together. But going to school for me was a torture because I would be just hunted down. Yeah, they would just hunt me. They would run behind me. They would scream Nazi at me and things like that. So moving on, when I turned either right before I turned 12 or when I turned 12, I'm not sure now, my parents moved to Germany. So I had no idea we're moving anywhere. I had no idea what Germany is. I'm just a child, and they packed my stuff and they put me into a plane, which I've never been on. And then we landed and everybody was speaking a different language. So we were in Germany. In Germany, first day of school, I was introduced as somebody who moved there from Russia, and my German was not good. So the kids at school start bullying me for being Russian. So basically in Russia, I was bullied for being German. And when I moved to Germany, I was bullied for being Russian. I have never really made friends. And I think I was damaged there already through my childhood where I was molested, because I was, looking back, I think I was depressed at that age already. So, yeah. However, normal problems at school, hard to find friends because you are Russian, and back then Germany didn't have much experience with people from other countries, which is different now because a lot of German people moved over there back there. So I tried to stick with Russian people. There was like a clique of Russian people which I would always hang out with. And turning 15, I fell in love with a person a Russian person. And he was older than me. I don't know. Maybe he was 17, maybe he was 18. I don't know. I really don't know his age. However, I don't even know how things happen. I Long story short, the person who I fell in love with raped me when I was 15. I had no experience, like sexual experience at all, except for when I was a toddler, where I didn't know what is happening, but I kind of understood what was happening when I was 15. And after this person raped me, he said, I don't think you're good material to be a girlfriend. The other day, I found this person on Facebook as well, just because I was looking for that. I don't know, something made me look for that. He has a family, he has a wife and 2 children, and I don't think like my parents know about this at all. I have never told them anything. However, I was made to believe that it was my fault because it was a gathering, and after he raped me, I came back to the group of friends, which I thought were my friends, and I was crying, and one of them said, it's your own fault. And this stuck with me forever because it's my own fault. I wonder if I provoked it somehow. But even if I did, the person should not have done this. Because even if people provoke me and I feel like, I don't know, hitting them or whatever, I don't hit them because I know what's right and what's wrong. So yeah, I was damaged goods. I come from even though we're Germans, I come from old school Russian family because they have their old school Russian traditions and things, which means you don't have sex before marriage. And I did. I didn't want it, but I did. So, my parents didn't know about that, but in my eyes, I failed, right? So I was a failure from this point on, and I still am in my brain, and I will be forever if this doesn't change. I don't know if I'm making any sense. However, not long after that, I met my future husband, who was my first husband. I have been married before. And I was pregnant when I was 17 because, I felt like I'm damaged good already, or I don't know what it was, but something made the whole sex before marriage go away from me because I couldn't do it anymore because somebody raped me, so that was over. So, however, I was pregnant when I was 17. And going to my parents, telling them that I'm pregnant, was the hardest thing to do because I knew there is no sex before marriage, so no way to get pregnant, right? However, my mom gave me 2 outs. She said, we are gonna go and get rid of it, or you will get married. Where I chose the marriage because I wanted to keep the baby, back then, and still I am just like that. But I did not want to have an abortion, and I will never have one. I would never have one, whatever happens. But this is just another thing. So I got married when I was 18 years and 10 days old. I was still pregnant. My whole pregnancy, my parents didn't tell anybody and they treated me like I am not. I had no idea how to be pregnant. I had no idea what to do. I was 17 years old and I was ignored by my parents because I was pregnant. So, which didn't help with me being depressed already. However, I had my first child when I was 18 and I have 3 children. By the age of 20, I had 3 children, or 21. Which is fine. I love them. It's not like I'm complaining about that. But having 3 children and being married to a man whom I met when I was a teenager and whom I didn't really, get to know that much. Like, I was not grown up enough to get to know a person. However, I ended up being raped in my marriage. Which was, I think, the hardest. Because if you're married, it doesn't count. When I went to my parents many, many years later, I was married for 16 years. And when I went to my parents, and it was before I broke it all up and stuff and got divorced, and I told them that he raped me, my mom said, there is no rape in the marriage because a man has needs and a woman has to serve. So why are you complaining? In my opinion, there is rape in the marriage. There is rape, it doesn't matter where. If you say no and you get things done to you, that's rape. I was not just raped. I was abused emotionally and physically, and I have been calling police and things like that. But still, I am ashamed. I'm ashamed that I have been molested as a child. I'm ashamed for the rape as a teenager, and I'm ashamed for what happened to me when I was married, because I was made to feel that it's my fault. Everything is my fault. And I could never say it out loud because I was afraid that people who know me will say that it's my fault, that it's not true. I try to convince myself that it's not true. I still have really, really bad nightmares. It is true. And I shouldn't be ashamed because it happened to me. I didn't ask for that. And now here I am, turning 40. I have been depressed for decades. They also say that fibromyalgia comes from a trauma. And I wonder which one it was. There was a lot of trauma in my life. And I don't know how to get over this. I have been doing therapy, but that didn't work for me. I have been taking medication, but that didn't work for me. So I do not want to be ashamed anymore. I'm saying all of that for it to go online and be there forever and for everyone to view. So I cannot hide anymore and pretend like nothing ever happened. And I'm not naming any names or anything because I do not have any thought of revenge, like real revenge. No. I have never tried to destroy the other person or whatever. All I want is to heal myself. I just want to heal myself. So, even though it seems to almost impossible for myself to believe, I want you out there who has experienced the same. I want you to know that it's not your fault. Whatever happened to you, it's not your fault. Except you ask somebody to do that, but I don't think so. You know, it is. Nowadays, and this amazes me, nowadays, almost every woman I meet has been abused. Why? You know? What happened? Like, why are there so many? And why is this still allowed? So, I just don't understand. I don't understand. So, yeah, coming to the end of my story, I got divorced, which was, oh my god, that was just an act because, like I said, old Russian family, we don't get divorced. So I had zero support from my parents. And even years later, my mom used to say, why did you leave him? You know, you would have been better off with this man because he was working and he was making money and, you know, he was the father of my children. So how could I do that? I destroyed my children. That's what my mother tells me, that I destroyed everything. I destroyed my children. I'm a bad mother. I'm a failure. I disappointed them. So thank you for making me feel even worse. Instead of giving me support. Thank you for making me feel even worse. They will not understand a word of what I'm saying because they don't speak the language, but can you imagine that the people closest to you blame you? Sorry. So, now I'm married, my husband, and I have never had relationships in between. So basically, my first boyfriend was my ex-husband, and my second boyfriend is my husband now. So I married my husband, and for the first time, there was somebody who supports me in whatever I want to do. And I can't deal with that. I can't deal with a nice husband. I am here. I can say that I provoke him so hard, especially at the beginning when we got married. I was doing stupid things. I would say stupid things just to get him to a point. I don't know if I was testing or what it is, if I needed to see his reaction to me being a bad person or, you know, annoy him or whatever. If I needed to see if he's gonna hit me or if he's gonna yell at me or, you know, I don't know. But to me, it's very hard to take kindness. If he would come home and would say, oh my god, you're such a bad wife, I would go like, yes, I know. But when he comes home and tells me, you're doing so much for us, I say, you lie. You know, anything positive he gives me, I say that this is a lie. I love this man so much. And I would give anything for him. Like, I give my best for my husband, but I cannot be my best because this part of me was damaged. I really hope that me saying all of that will make me feel better in a way that it's out there. It's out there, and I don't want to be ashamed anymore. I don't want to be ashamed that when I was a little child, somebody molested me. I don't want to be ashamed of that. What did I do? I did nothing. But I'm damaged goods, even for my family, because things happened to me. So, no. I'm not ashamed anymore right now. I think by uploading the video, it will give me something, because I said it out loud, and I never did. And even recording this video, I'm afraid that I don't know how to explain that. I'm afraid that somebody who knows me will watch it and will tell me that it was my own fault. You know what I mean? Because that would be devastating. But it's time to grow, and it's time to get better. It really is time to get better, and it's time to get past all of that. And there was so much more in my life which conditioned me to feel like a failure, especially from my parents. I don't think they did it on purpose. I think they did the best they could. They are not, maliciously or bad. They are good, and they try to do good, but this is just how they were raised. So that's why I cannot just say, okay, I'm not going to talk to you ever again, because I know that they mean good, but they are just raised like that, and this is how they are. So, yeah, that's my little story for those of you who were wondering, or maybe not, So I try to keep myself busy and positive, but that doesn't always work. Every day I feel like I'm putting on a mask for the day because I'm damaged. There is a huge damage. And then I put on a mask and some glue here and some, glitter there. And I pretend to be a person for the whole day. But if there is a minute or two when nothing is going on and I'm to myself, I fall into a hole. Same thing every evening when I go to bed. That's like the hardest time for me to be in bed. I don't want to be in bed. That's why I'm up at 5 a.m. I don't want to be there because it's dark and it's lonely and there is thoughts. So, yeah, I hope I will get out of the depression one day. And I will finish this because it's getting too much for me, and I just have to stop. So I hope, I really do, that this helps somebody out there to not to be ashamed, even though I'm broken myself and ashamed myself and trying to not to be. But maybe if you watch this, you realize that your story is similar and that you are not alone and you didn't do nothing wrong and you didn't ask for that. Maybe you realize that, and maybe I realize that. Okay, with that said, sorry about the sad video, but I do what I need to do, or I do what I think and I feel that needs to be done. So thank you for listening, guys. Bye-bye.